This is the Rogun Dam, 335 meters tall, taller than the Eiffel Tower, higher than any dam ever constructed, and it's rising from one of the most dangerous valleys on Earth. 18,000 workers operating around the clock, moving 13 million cubic meters of rock and earth in a single year, building what the Soviets started in 1976 and abandoned for 3 decades. They're building in an active earthquake zone, on a river fed by melting glaciers that floods unpredictably, in a gorge so narrow and deep that one engineering mistake could flood everything downstream for hundreds of kilometers. For 49 years, this dam sat unfinished, destroyed by floods, abandoned after the Soviet collapse, a concrete monument to failure, until 2016, when Tajikistan made a desperate bet: finish what the Soviets couldn't, or face permanent energy collapse. When finished, Rogun will generate 3,600 megawatts, power equivalent to 3 nuclear reactors, enough to double Tajikistan's entire electricity supply and end blackouts for 10 million people who freeze in darkness every winter. To understand Rogun, we have to go back. 1954. The Soviet Union launches construction of the Bratsk Dam in remote Siberia, 125 meters tall, at the time the tallest dam in the USSR. The Bratsk Reservoir behind it covered 5,400 square kilometers, larger than some countries. 40,000 workers, a city built from scratch to house them. This was Soviet engineering at its most ambitious. Bratsk was a concrete gravity dam. The principle is simple. The dam's own massive weight resists the pressure of millions of tons of water behind it. No fancy engineering tricks, just pure mass and geometry. Bratsk proved the Soviets could build dams in the harshest climates, and it gave them confidence to dream bigger. In 1979, the Soviets completed the Nurek Dam, also in Tajikistan, also on the Vox River, just downstream from where Rogun would be built. At 300 meters, Nurek became the world's tallest dam. But unlike Bratsk, Nurek was a rock-fill embankment dam, millions of tons of crushed rock compacted into a massive earthen wall. It was a proof of concept. If they could build 300 meters, why not 335? And so, in 1976, construction of Rogun began. The plan was audacious: build the tallest dam in the world in a seismic zone where earthquakes measuring 7.0 on the Richter scale occur regularly, divert one of Central Asia's most powerful rivers, create a reservoir holding 13 cubic kilometers of water. The Soviets believed they could finish by 1987. They were catastrophically wrong. By 1991, the dam was only 60 meters tall, less than 20% of its planned height. Then the Soviet Union collapsed. Funding evaporated. Workers left. Tajikistan spiraled into civil war. The dam sat abandoned. In 1993, floodwaters from the Vox River destroyed much of the incomplete rockfill. Decades of work washed away. Rogun became a symbol of Soviet hubris, an abandoned concrete graveyard in the mountains. For 20 years, Rogun sat frozen in time. Meanwhile, Tajikistan suffered. Winters in Tajikistan are brutal. Temperatures drop to -20 Celsius. But 70% of the population faces electricity rationing. Power cuts lasting hours, sometimes days. Hospitals without heat, schools closed, industries shut down. Tajikistan has almost no oil or gas. 93% of its electricity comes from hydropower, and it's not enough.
In 2008, Tajikistan announced Rogun would be completed, but financing was a nightmare. They tried selling bonds to citizens, launched an IPO. By 2010, they'd raised only $184 million, nowhere near the billions needed. Then, in 2016, breakthrough. Italian construction giant Cellini Impreglo, now Webuild, signed a $3.9 billion contract. Rogun was back from the dead. On October 29, 2016, President Emomali Rahmon stood at Rogun and ceremonially diverted the Vox River through reconstructed diversion tunnels. For the first time in 2 decades, real construction could begin. The Soviets started this. Tajikistan would finish it. The question was, could they? Rogun sits in one of the most seismically active regions on Earth. Magnitude 7 earthquakes occur here. The Vox Valley is crisscrossed by fault lines. In 2011, the World Bank commissioned independent experts to assess the risks. Their conclusion? Building a 335-meter dam here is possible, but only with extraordinary engineering precautions. One miscalculation and earthquake-induced dam failure could kill hundreds of thousands downstream. This is why Rogun is a rock-fill embankment dam, not concrete. Rock-fill is more flexible. During an earthquake, a concrete dam can crack catastrophically. Rock-fill compresses and deforms, but doesn't shatter. The design uses a clay core, an impermeable wall of compacted clay running through the dam's center, sealed on both sides by rock-fill. This core is 180 meters long and 120 meters wide. It's divided into 8 separate blocks to prevent catastrophic failure if one section cracks. But the dam itself is only half the challenge. The foundation must be rock solid, literally. Webuild has drilled over 180,000 linear meters of injection holes into the bedrock beneath and beside the dam. High-pressure grout is pumped deep underground, filling every crack and void. This creates an impermeable curtain, preventing water from seeping under the dam. It also consolidates the rock, making it strong enough to bear the dam's weight, tens of millions of tons. Let me give you the numbers. In 2024 alone, crews placed 13 million cubic meters of embankment material, enough to fill 5,200 Olympic swimming pools. The dam's clay core required 290,000 cubic meters of specialized rolled concrete. 18,000 workers operate on-site simultaneously. This is the largest active construction project in Central Asia, and it's happening at 2,700 meters elevation in a gorge so remote everything must be trucked over mountain roads. And the conditions are brutal. Winter temperatures drop to -20 Celsius. Concrete won't cure properly in extreme cold, so work slows or stops. Summer brings monsoons and flash floods. The Vox River can rise unpredictably, threatening diversion tunnels. Workers endure dust, altitude sickness, and isolation. Webuild built accommodation for thousands on site. There's no leaving. This is their world until the dam is finished. Before you can build a dam, you must move the river. The Vox carries millions of cubic meters of water daily, fed by glacial melt from the Pamirs. 2 massive diversion tunnels redirect the river around the construction site. These tunnels are 10 to 12 meters in diameter, carved through solid rock. During peak melt season, water roars through at terrifying speed. If these tunnels fail, the incomplete dam floods instantly. Everything depends on these tunnels holding until the dam is tall enough to withstand the river's full force. In 2025, the dam reached a critical milestone, elevation 1,100 meters above sea level. The reservoir behind it, the artificial lake created by the dam, began filling significantly. The target water level is 1,300 meters. At that height, the reservoir will hold 79 million cubic meters of water. For perspective, that's enough water to cover the entire country of Luxembourg 1 meter deep. The pressure on the dam at full reservoir will be immense, equivalent to having a 300-story building of water pushing against it. At the base of the dam, 6 massive Francis turbines will be installed. Each generates 600 megawatts. Total capacity, 3,600 megawatts.
That's equivalent to 3 nuclear reactors. Water from the reservoir will plunge 335 meters down penstocks, giant steel pipes, spinning the turbines at incredible speeds. The force of falling water converted to rotational energy, then to electricity. When all 6 turbines are online, Rogun will produce 17.1 terawatt-hours annually, enough to double Tajikistan's entire electricity output.
But Rogun isn't just an engineering project, it's a geopolitical flashpoint. The Vox River doesn't stop at the dam. It flows downstream into Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan, nations that depend on this water for irrigated agriculture. Uzbekistan grows cotton and wheat using Vox River water. For decades, Uzbekistan fiercely opposed Rogun, fearing Tajikistan would control their water supply. In 2010, Uzbek President Islam Karimov called Rogun a stupid project and warned of potential conflict. But in 2018, something changed. Uzbekistan's new leadership recognized reality. Rogun was being built whether they liked it or not, so they negotiated. Tajikistan agreed to export 70% of Rogun's electricity to Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan at competitive rates, 3.4 cents per kilowatt-hour. In return, Uzbekistan supplies Tajikistan with natural gas during winter, when heating demand is critical. It's an energy swap, clean electricity for fossil fuel heating. Both countries benefit, and the threat of water war faded, for now. But someone always pays the price. As of 2024, over 15,000 residents have been relocated from the reservoir zone. Their villages will be underwater. The government built new settlements, but many are inadequate, limited access to schools, healthcare, and farmland. Families lost ancestral homes, agricultural land, and livelihoods. Compensation was often insufficient. This is the human cost of megadams. Progress for millions, but displacement and hardship for thousands. Environmental groups warn of ecological disaster. The Tugay forests of Tigravia Balka, a UNESCO World Heritage Site downstream, depend on seasonal flooding from the Vox River. Rogun will regulate that flow, potentially destroying unique ecosystems. Endangered species like the Bukhara deer face habitat loss. And then there's the Aral Sea crisis. Once the world's 4th largest lake, now 90% gone due to upstream water diversion. Critics say Rogun will worsen Central Asia's water crisis. Proponents argue hydropower is cleaner than coal or gas. There are no easy answers. And who's paying for this? Initially, Tajikistan tried funding it domestically. They even asked citizens to buy bonds. It failed. The final cost is estimated at $6.1 billion, possibly more. In 2024, a consortium of international banks, World Bank, Asian Development Bank, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, Islamic Development Bank, European Investment Bank, committed nearly $3 billion in refinancing. This is global capital betting on Tajikistan's energy future, and on the assumption that Rogun won't collapse in an earthquake. But there's a bigger game being played. Rogun is a piece in Central Asia's energy strategy. The CASA 1000 transmission project will export Tajik electricity to Afghanistan and Pakistan. China's Belt and Road Initiative includes energy corridors through the region. Russia wants influence. The US and Europe want to counter Russian and Chinese dominance. Rogun makes Tajikistan an energy exporter instead of a dependent importer. That gives them leverage, power, literally and figuratively. Yet opposition persists. In 2024, international environmental groups urged development banks to reject Rogun funding. Their argument, alternative renewable energy, solar, wind, could be built 5 times faster and 3 times cheaper than this giant dam. They question whether a half-century-old Soviet design makes sense in the 21st century. But Tajikistan has committed. There's no turning back. As of 2025, Rogun is approximately 25% complete. 2 of the 6 turbines are operational, generating power, but only a fraction of the dam's potential. The main dam structure has risen over 100 meters in the past year, a remarkable pace, but it must reach 335 meters. Engineers estimate full completion between 2028 and 2032, if funding and construction continue without major delays. That's still 3 to 7 years away. When Rogun is completed, Tajikistan transforms overnight. Electricity generation doubles. The 70% who face blackouts get reliable power. Industries that shut down in winter can operate year-round. Hospitals, schools, homes, heated and lit consistently. Economic growth accelerates. Tajikistan estimates GDP could grow by 2 to 3% annually just from reliable electricity. Energy independence isn't just about power. It's about dignity, stability, a future. And the regional impact could be transformative. Tajikistan exports clean hydropower. Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan reduce reliance on coal and natural gas. Central Asia's carbon emissions drop. It's not perfect. Dam construction has environmental costs, but operational hydropower emits almost no carbon dioxide. If Rogun enables the region to transition away from fossil fuels, its climate impact could be massively positive. This is the argument that convinced international banks to fund it.
But there's one scenario no one wants to discuss publicly. What if a magnitude 7 earthquake strikes after Rogun fills? Engineers say the rock fill design will flex and absorb the shock. Emergency spillways will release pressure. Downstream warning systems will trigger evacuations. But we're talking about 79 million cubic meters of water held by a wall of rock and clay 335 meters tall. If that fails, the flood wave would be catastrophic. Hundreds of thousands live downstream. The Nurik Dam, downstream from Rogun, could be overwhelmed. It's the nightmare scenario, and it's why engineers check every calculation obsessively. So is Rogun worth it? 15,000 people displaced, billions spent, ecosystems disrupted, regional tensions risked. For what? Electricity. But not just electricity, agency, the ability to control your energy destiny in a region dominated by powerful neighbors. The Soviets dreamed of Rogun as a symbol of industrial might. Tajikistan sees it as survival. Both can be true. Infrastructure isn't morally neutral. It reflects priorities, makes winners and losers. Rogun will do both. In the end, Rogun is a monument to persistence. The Soviets started it in 1976, convinced they'd finish by 1987. They failed. The structure sat ruined for decades, a concrete graveyard. Most assumed it would never be completed. But Tajikistan refused to let it die. They revived a Soviet dream and made it their own. And against incredible odds, earthquakes, floods, financial crises, geopolitical opposition, they're building the tallest dam in the world. But Rogun also raises uncomfortable questions. In an era of distributed solar, wind farms, and battery storage, do we still need Soviet-scale megadams? They take decades to build, displace populations, disrupt ecosystems. Modern renewables scale faster, cost less, and don't create single points of catastrophic failure. Yet they can't match the sheer concentrated power of falling water. Hydropower is reliable, controllable, and lasts generations. Rogun will still be generating electricity a century from now. Solar panels need replacing every 25 years. 335 meters, the tallest dam ever built. A wall of rock and clay holding back a glacier-fed river that has flowed freely for millions of years. The Voksh doesn't care about megawatts or geopolitics. It will keep flowing long after the dam, the Soviet Union, and Tajikistan itself are forgotten. But for now, in this moment, humans are bending the river to their will and calling it progress.
The Rogun Dam. 50 years in the making, $6 billion, 18,000 workers, and a gamble on whether humanity can engineer its way to energy security, or whether nature will have the last word. What do you think? Should Tajikistan have finished this Soviet megaproject or invested in modern renewables instead? Would you live downstream from the world's tallest dam in an earthquake zone?
Let me know in the comments. And if you want to see more engineering at the edge of what's possible, subscribe. We're covering mega projects that reshape nations.